All right, we're back, folks. Apologize. We were knocked off the air. We're back. We're talking about Bo Nix, the drafts. What were you saying about that, Ben Troop?
No, I was saying that sometimes, when you talk about these quarterbacks making lateral moves, people be asking themselves, can it hurt you or help you? I say it just depends on where you go. I mean, Bo Nix leaves Auburn, wins his if I'm not mistaken, he won his Iron Bowl as a true freshman, then reality set, as a sophomore, and then he ends up going out to Oregon with Dan Lanning. And I mean, he's a first round pick. I mean, hey, six quarter.
Yeah, we're having just still getting some difficulties here online. I hope you folks will hang with us for a second till we check out what's going on. Go ahead, Ben.
You guys can hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying. I mean, six quarterbacks in the first round. Friends alone, I'd love to hear you guys breakdown of it. I knew it was going to be a lot. I didn't know it was going to be
That's a lot.
six.
Yeah.
I mean, six is a lot. I mean, but it's also a true indication of the quarterback playing the NFL. Let's call it. It ain't what it used to be now. After that top 10, it's a huge drop off. So, hey man, they're trying to get him a young stud that'll take him to the Brock Purdy. The Brock Purdy effect is real right now in the NFL. Even though they ain't waiting for Mr. Irrelevant, they're trying to get him one in the first round.
Lauren, your take on that, six quarterbacks?
Once again, nature of the league. I mean, you gotta go in and win now, and that's the most important position in all the pro sports. And everybody's looking for that next one. So you got Caleb Williams, you got Drake May, you got Bo Nix, you got Michael Penix, and those guys. I mean, they're gonna be under the gun right away. I mean, it's pretty much 1 or 2 years. See what you got, and then they kind of got to move on. I mean, it's just where teams are now, and with Pat Mahomes being the center of attention on this dynasty that Kansas City is kind of building, everybody's looking for that trigger guy that could just make everybody around him better. And you talk about First Cousins getting that $100 million, or whatever he got, which is crazy. Because I think he's like got one playoff win in his career or something like that, but he got a great agent. And so, it'll be interesting to see how that pans out with him, and the injury coming back. But yeah, I mean, quarterback is just where it's at. I mean, I was actually shocked with Washington at number 2 with Jaden Daniels. I mean, I'll be the first, and maybe we'll come back and visit this a year from now. But I'm not a big. I think Jaden Daniels was a product of some really bad defenses this year in the SEC.
I don't know. Lamar Jackson wasn't. He's a lot like
Lamar Jackson. That's not the same thing. Here you go, buddy. That's not the same. Come on now.
Two quarterbacks running the football to me is what it is. Okay.
Yeah, no,
I know fast when I see it. Okay.
That ain't the same man right there. Those two ain't built the same.
I didn't say he was. I didn't say he was Lamar Jackson.
Having watched Caleb Williams, probably through replays, I've probably seen him play 15 times.
Caleb Williams or Jalen? Which one are you talking about?
I'm talking about Jaden Daniels.
I'm talking about Jaden Daniels.
Yeah. Having watched Caleb Williams probably 10 or 15 times, and having watched Jaden Daniels as much as he's played, I take Jaden Daniels every single time. I really would, simply because I am not at all convinced that Caleb Williams is going to be a big star. Just not. I really do. I like Penix a lot. My gosh, I like Penix a lot, and but I like Jaden Daniels. Particularly, when you get drafted, second, that means you're going to a bad football team. And if you're going to a bad football team, typically it's because their offensive line sucks, which they do at Washington. And they got the perfect guy for having a team with an offensive line that sucks, because this guy can run like a deer.
He can definitely run. You can see him pulling away. If you watch the replays of some of those games, he made Florida look bad. It's because he was such a superior athlete. he was amazing the way he some of those runs he made.
Yeah.
It was
They listen. They listen. They gonna pull away in the SEC. They gonna listen in the SEC. I can pull away, right? But I always say this: RG3, RG3 is one of the best athletes ever come
I
through.
didn't like RG3.
RG3,
I never believed in him. Never thought he was. I never
hold
thought he was
on.
that great a
But
player. I just never
here's
did.
the thing. But here's the thing, though, buddy. No. RG3 is the only reason you've ever watched Baylor in your life. You haven't watched them since, and you ain't gonna watch. If John Deere had jerseys, he would send them to Baylor. That's what they look like, the John Deere team out there. But he got, you know who called RG3? It wasn't a DB. It wasn't a linebacker. It was Haloti Nada. That's who called him. A man that big caught a man that fast. That's the NFL. It ain't a matter of if. It's a matter of when. They gonna catch you. They caught Vic. They caught Cam. They caught Lamar. They gonna catch you, man. So that.
and we talking about a middle school defense in Florida. I mean, you
Right.
can't. I mean, middle school, bro. I mean, poor angles, bad tackles.
Hey, they didn't play just
Lines in the
Florida.
way.
Lawrence. They played more than Florida, and he pulled away well.
I'm
Look,
just. I mean,
look
I
what
will see. Like I said, this year, a year from now, we'll revisit this and we'll
You can
see
buy
where
me
we
dinner
are,
next
man.
year. That's okay. You buy me dinner at
Yeah,
Spurrier.
I got you. You know I'm good
Right.
for it. I
Hey,
got you.
Lauren, I'm never wrong about these things. All right. Never wrong about them. All right.
All right.
Right. I'm telling you right now, this guy's something. I underrated him myself. I thought, why is he doing so well? And I saw him play 3 or 4 times. My goodness. And by the way, not only that, he made some terrific throws. So he gets the right guy with him now. I think he'll be a force. He'll be right up there. I'm not saying he'd be Lamar Jackson, but he's out of that ilk. When you can run and throw the rock like he can, his only problem is going to be if he gets hit by somebody big.
He gonna get hit.
I mean,
He
get
went.
hit.
He went to the. The only reason why he ain't gonna get hit as much as Caleb Williams is because Caleb Williams went 1 and he went 2. I bet you they're gonna be 1 and 2 in sacks in 2024. Why? It's gonna be rough.
I don't know. Bryce Young still with Carolina. They are atrocious up front. He might. Bryce Young
That's
still
what
may.
happens. If you're a quarterback, you get drafted those first 5 picks. What does that tell you? We got the worst offensive lines in the NFL that are being rewarded with a good quarterback who they can destroy. You know, give me a guy like Tom Brady drafted about the 7th round, something like that. That he finally got to go with a team that could block.
I'm rooting for Bo Nix as a Bronco. I like that a lot. I think he's a guy.
He's gonna get hit a lot too. Listen. He's
Yeah,
gonna be
he
calling.
will.
He's gonna be
He
calling
will.
Russell Wilson.
Sorry, but that's a good fit in that program for him. And listen,
Man.
give it up for Bo Nix.
No.
I'm gonna tell you a
Shout out
guy
to Bo
who's
Nix, but
Yeah.
I'm saying
I'll tell you a guy right now who's going to make it that may surprise you what I say. Spencer Rattler is going to make it in the NFL. Maybe not immediately, but give him a couple years to figure things out and everything like this. He is going to make it in the NFL, and he makes all the right throws and stuff like that. And he got a bad deal at Oklahoma from Lincoln Riley, and he went to South Carolina where they didn't have a lot of talent, and he did well.
He got hit. He didn't like getting hit, by the way. So that's
He's a guy that's going to do well in the NFL long term, not short term. He's going to do well in the NFL.
Yeah.
So is Ricky Pearsall.
Yeah. Well, the other thing about this draft is, we're going the first day without nobody from Florida getting calls. Did I read it right, Francis? That Florida's the only team in the SEC that's had someone drafted every year. Is that correct?
Yeah. And you know what I wrote about it. It is inexcusable for the University of Florida to have a year when you only got 2 people picked. That is inexcusable. That tells you that, and I love the way Dan Mullen used to call offense and stuff like that. I like Dan, but you look at what happened. Will Muschamp could spot a defensive player, in Russia, out in Siberia, topping trees in the forest. If the guy could play defense, Will Muschamp could spot him. Couldn't spot an offensive player if you sat him down beside him holding the Heisman Trophy. who knows about Old Yeller? Old Yeller, I once all Muschamp's guys, graduated. He was a lost ball in the tall grass. Mullen, Dan could coach offense, but he had no clue about a lot of things like recruiting. And there's no excuse for Florida to not recruit well enough to be a pipeline to the NFL. You look at what Nick Saban created at Alabama, an absolute pipeline. They say this is going to be an off year for Alabama. They're only going to have 8 players picked.
Hey guys, I just sit here and think about this, and I've been watching this a long time. Where did the Florida Gators start going wrong?
I
Where
think
where
that,
did where,
yeah, I think that, just a lot of different things. I mean, you guys been here long enough that,
I mean, way
you
back
know,
when. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, but I'm talking about just when decisions were made not to necessarily get into the arms race, with facilities and
yeah.
things like that. Which I don't necessarily understand. I mean, I know they wanted to be, the everything school, and a lot of programs flourish because of that. But I still think you could have did both. I think they were quick to maybe make a couple hires that may not have been the best long term, like the McElwain hire and things like that were just a little off. It's just a number of different things. I mean, if you could pinpoint it, I don't think you'd be in this situation, but it's so many different things. I mean, you talk about players that under Mullen, like I've had a couple guys tell me, I asked them, I said, so how is it under Napier really with the player experience? And they said, well, at least he talks to us. I mean, you got Dan Mullen. I mean, these are guys that are going to start for the Gators that said when they were young guys under Mullen, they never had a conversation with him. And in this day and age, as a coach, you should never ignore any player. 105 to number one. They should never be ignored, and every player should feel like they could come talk to you. And you talking about prominent guys have told me that they never had a conversation with Dan Mullen. So, you just get into all those things and you're not cultivating relationships in your locker room. You're not cultivating those things outside. And it all attributes to a losing culture and one that lags behind. And so I don't think you could pinpoint it. Maybe you guys got a bigger reason, but I just think it's somebody that, all of us have been part of programs and watched them and know what that's like. And just not good. And it's just so many different things. I don't know if you friends, but the first indoor plans facility, didn't have end zones. You
Oh, it
know,
was 70 yards.
yeah,
They
I mean,
wanted the 70
just,
yards.
I
Then
mean,
they had no end zones and no
yeah,
sidelines.
yeah. I mean, come on. I mean, this is the University of Florida. What we doing here? And it's just, you cannot rob. There's enough money that you don't have to rob Peter to pay Paul. And
Hey,
you
Lauren,
can work,
let
you
me
can
give
work
you
it
the
out.
perfect example of where we were with facilities. And I'm not just talking about football. Old McKithen Stadium, out in the middle of it, we had a brown patch that looked like a swimming pool. This is Florida, where we got sunshine, we got water, we got fertilizer. A little bit of sunshine, a little water, a little fertilizer. You don't have a big brown patch as big as a swimming pool in center field.
Hmm.
That's how neglecting they were of facilities. I give Scott Strickland credit because he has made facilities a priority, and they have
Absolutely.
to. They
Hmm.
have to be. I know people saying, "Well, we're in an era of NIL. This big Hefner Center is overdone." No, it's not. No, it's not. Kids, NIL is part of the equation, but kids got to know that you've got a place that can be their second home, because as much time as you got to spend developing your craft as a football player, you better give them a place that they go that they feel homey. They eat right there. They got that great they can go eat there. They got those zero gravity chairs in their locker rooms. They got everything they need to make a kid feel like this is my home, because that's basically when you sign a football scholarship, the locker room and the practice field, that is home. The stadium is where you go visit once a week.
Hmm.
Bad. Where'd they go wrong?
you go wrong when you treat something rare like it's not. Like the thing that, I mean, when you think because the whole thing about it was, right. I mean, like him or don't like him, Ron Zook did not get the wins, right? But it was not from a lack of effort. It was not from that. It just, I mean, you have some down seasons, but I think sometimes, but people were still getting drafted. So the pipeline was still there. Guys still getting drafted, right? And I think the thing is with Florida, you know, I mean, this is nothing against them, but I mean, back to back coaches, you went Muschamp, then you went McElwain. Like, and the thing, and when you take steps back when the winning ain't there. I get that part, but like you said too, Lauren, the one thing Florida can never ever say is they don't got money. No, 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 no. Now where you allocate them funds is one thing, right? Where you allocate them funds, I get it, but come on, man, stop playing. I mean, I'm watching an interview, right? I'm watching an interview, with a prominent figure, and he's interviewing this young lady, and she said, "I grew up in Orlando." She mentioned, listen, she said in the state of Florida, they got big. She said the college sports is bigger than anything. So she mentioned a team out. She mentioned a team over there in the Panhandle that will go unnamed. Before she said another word, she said, "I'm sorry, I meant UF. I'm sorry." She said, "I meant this," because I think the thing about Florida is, right, when you go to the combine, like I was blessed to do, they'll ask you, "Hey man, because they be wanting to know how was it in Florida, man?" Because I'll never understand it. I mean, Florida got more fans than anybody in the state. Florida got billionaire alumni. We ain't got oil money like they got over there in Texas Tech, but you don't need it. At one point, which is getting close to being there, and people can get mad at me at this, I said Florida is the best place to coach in college football because it's one of the hardest. It's one of the best places to coach because it's a pipeline. I mean, you don't think that I mean, yes, Laura Rutledge used to be an intern for Buddy Martin. You don't think going to University of Florida Journalism School help? Yeah, she's a beautiful lady. Yeah, she's very talented, right? But it's like when you start thinking about what Florida lacks, they don't lack anything. Most schools, well, if we had this, we could do that. If we could do this, we'll do it. Like, I'm on sidelines with Rob Brown, and we be talking about Arkansas for 15 minutes. We be talking about Mississippi State. I'm like, what the hell are we talking about? Like Arkansas, Sham Pittman, Bobby Petrino. What the hell Arkansas gonna do? Nothing. And they had Darren McFadden. They had Felix Jones. Florida is a school that doesn't lack anything. It doesn't lack anything. So when you start talking about where we went wrong, you started treating the Lamborghini like it wasn't one. You downshifting when you should. I'm just saying, it just the reason why Billy Napier gets the scrutiny he gets is half of what he is not doing on the field and all of what he is. He's the head coach of Florida. You know what comes with that? Billy Napier went from who was that to he can't go nowhere. He can't go to Walgreens in the middle of the night. They ain't got Guthrie's down there no more. I mean, Florida turned bougie. I mean, Lauren told Buddy, meet me at, where you at, buddy? I'm at the Whole Foods in aisle 6. You know what I'm saying? They got Whole Foods and Cheesecake Factory. But what I'm saying is, think about this. When's the last time a Cheesecake Factory went to a non-major city? It's called Gainesville, right? They usually be in big cities, right? Man, I'm never ever gonna make excuses about Florida, man, because they don't lack anything. They really, really
Yeah,
don't.
you're really so right, man. Because last night we had Patrick Young on.
Listen,
What a
Patrick
great,
Young. Patrick
what a
Young.
great.
I was blessed to interview him on
Yeah,
my podcast,
yeah,
man. I was telling him the type of player I remember him
yeah,
being, and just keep going. It's just, I'm
yeah,
telling you, there are teams around the state that have the illusion that they have what Florida has. And
yeah,
I'm not talking about the one on the Panhandle or the
yeah,
one down south. There are other colleges in the state that say we at the same level as Florida. You've lost
yeah,
your mind.
yeah.
Let me tell you something. I've been to 62 countries around the world, and when I used to travel. I had this gator jacket that I used to wear, and I traveled in a lot of places where it's cold. I put that gator jacket on. Uh, Beijing, China. I'm wearing a gator jacket. Boom. Tallinn, Estonia. Most people don't even know where that is. I get
I
off the
do.
plane with that gator. I get off the plane with that gator jacket. Boom. Somebody go Gators. The the University of Florida, people do not realize how well known Florida is. And it has to do of course, sports has to do with part of it, but the academics that you have here are unparalleled. And with the Ivy League imploding as it is over all this stuff, somebody made a comment today. I was listening to it. A lot of kids, Ivy League kids, are sending their applications now to Florida, to University of Georgia, to Vanderbilt, to Texas A&M. These schools are going to benefit from the unrest, and you don't do it if you don't have some sort of brand name.
Yeah.
Florida's got brand name.
And let me
I
get
know
back
where
to a
else.
point. Let me get back to a point I tried to make 10
Oh,
minutes ago when we changed the subject, okay? I was talking about Patrick Young. The reason I brought him up was when you're talking about Gainesville, and fans, you and I can have a conversation about the arrogance of Florida after Urban won his national championship. We talked to. I told you what was happening. Arrogance is going to take him down, and it did. If you remember that, but not that that's
Yes,
important.
you did.
But what Patrick said was interesting. He has a great story to tell. As a matter of fact, I asked him to share with me what happened on that road in Nebraska when his car went in a ditch. He started telling, and he began to weep. He had to stop. I said, I know it's very emotional to you. He's such a class guy, really a class. One of Gator fans, you ought to be proud of this guy. And so what I wanted to say was when we were discussing this, and David Moulton said, well, shout out to you from your hometown in Jacksonville. You're making him proud. And he said, okay, but I want to make the city of Gainesville proud. I want Gainesville to be proud too. And Ben, that's what you're talking about right there. That's the player wanted to be. Yeah, he appreciated the love of his hometown, but he wants the Gators to be proud of him too.
Let me tell you something about that story too. Patrick Young is out in the middle of nowhere. Guess who sends his own the plane he owns, private plane to go get him and medevac him?
Ben
Billy
True.
Donovan.
Oh no. Yeah. I didn't know that. He loves Billy Donovan.
Donovan sent
He
his
loves
own
it.
personal
He said
plane.
about Billy Donovan, he says about recruiting, he said, Billy Donovan, not going to give you, he said, he going to give you jack. He's straight up, straight arrow. He says, he asked you two questions. Do you think did you like to come here at this university and play for the Gators? Yes. Could I be your coach? Yes. Okay, that's all I need to know. Period. Boom. We're going to play now. And he just loves and idolizes Billy Donovan. We had an unbelievable run there, friends. We were blessed to be able to cover it, be a part of it, whatever. It's great. But you know what we said then? This ain't ever going to happen again. Never going to happen again.
But it's rare though.
Of course it's rare. It's beyond rare. It's just.
But I'm saying, think about this though. Hold on. But think about that though. It's almost like Billy Donovan came and spoke to us one time. Billy Donovan came and spoke to the team one time. This is when Zucker's there.
Yeah.
The Italian stallion, he walks in, he got the slick hair, he comes in, right? And we talking. And he was like, how you doing, man? He like, hey, how you doing, coach, or whatever. He take this rubber band, right? And he keep on popping them. You take the rubber band, pop it. He said, when I watch you guys play, that's what I see. I see a bunch of individuals. He said, that's why y'all losing. When he said that L word, you can hear a pin drop. He said, that's why y'all be losing. He said, y'all got some great individual moments. He said, nothing collective, though. I don't see nothing collectively. Then he took all the rubber bands and he put them together, right? And he couldn't break them. We did not know that next year we're going to start off 3-3. Listen, there were guys on the team that Ron Zook said, I know players on this team that took off them rubber bands. They don't even wear them no more. But y'all supposed to be a band of brothers. I'm telling you, a guy like Billy Donovan, what he did is he commands a room. Like he walks in. He and I think the thing is with Florida, most schools, they say, oh, we did this and we did that. And somebody say, did y'all win it? Nope. But y'all had a good season. Florida has done it. Florida has done things like if I went, listen, Graham Mercy, I want to wear number 15. Why? That's the number at quarterback, right? Yeah, I want to wear that. I mean, Anthony Richards, I want to wear number 15. You get that coveted number 1 if you're supposed to be the best on offense or defense. So it ain't like Florida ain't no slouch, man. Ain't no slouch stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, it's been a while. Yes, it's been
And,
a while.
you're right. And the point about Billy Donovan I want to make, and I know Francis is trying to jump in here. We're going long, but anyway, is that we talked about. Patrick said, I told him I thought that he was such a terrific example of work ethic, and what he did. I picture him of diving on ball for balls on the floor, friends. That's what he was. He was such a hustle player. And I asked him where he learned it from. And he talked about it. He said, I wasn't always that way. It took me a couple of years and Coach Donovan to teach me about the importance of digging down deep and doing it the right way. And I said to him, it just struck me that kind of discipline and that kind of mental discipline is probably what got you through your difficult times when you hurt yourself. He said, that's exactly right. It went far beyond basketball. Here he is, a big 6'8" guy who can't walk. He's crippled and he's depressed. And some days he wants to throw the towel in. And there was that true grit that he had as a person, an athlete, with beyond athletics, which basically got him back to where he needed to be. That to me is a great story about athletics, Lauren and Ben and Franz. To me, that is such a great lesson to me that this is what he took this out of life, out of sports, and applied it to life.
Let me tell you, Joakim Noah had declared for the draft. He's his last day in Gainesville. He says, "Come on, I'm going to spend my day with you." So I'm there with him. We're in the locker room. You could have grown things in his locker. I'm telling you, it was. Joe is the ultimate slob. But I got there. We talked. We did and two things that I always remember. One of them, I asked Joe. I said, "What are you going to remember most about here, about the University of Florida?" And I thought he was going to say winning the national championship twice or his teammates, whatever. He said, number one, he said, being able to come in at any time and prop my feet up on one end of the sofa, my head on the other with Billy Donovan, and talk for 2 hours, and Coach Donovan listened to every word I had to say. He said, I remember that. He said, a coach that I meant that much to him that he would listen to me. He said, Coach Donovan's a Republican. I'm a Democrat. He says, I talk politics, and he listened to me. He said, Coach Donovan is a family guy with all this stuff, recruits. He says, and I'm from this. He says, and Coach Donovan listens to me. And the second thing I remember about him was that day, Christine Donovan comes in with their daughter, who was only at the time like about 5 years old. And she comes running up there. She sees Joakim Noah, and he gets down on his knees and moves his body to where she's eye level with him. So when she hugs him, he sits there and talks to her and everything like that. And I'm watching that. And afterward, I said, you lit up her life. He said, she lit up mine. He says, but see, I learned that from Coach Donovan. He says, put myself on the level of the person I'm talking to. And he says, don't look down on people, whatever. We're missing that. We've been missing that. Lauren, you hit the nail on the head. This is the kind of thing we have been missing at Florida. Is I don't think players have felt that they could look eye to eye with that coach
Okay.
and
All right.
have that conversation. I don't think players have felt like they could come lay down, sit down on the sofa and start talking. And the coach sits there and he may disagree with everything that's being said, but at least he gives you the respect and the courtesy of listening.
Right. I'm going to take it as a great final thought from you. And I'm going to move to Lauren for a final thought, and then we'll let Pastor Troop close it up. Lauren?
Well, I think to kind of just carry on what we talk about is just, in the world of NIL and transfer portal and things like that, and I always get frustrated because when you talk about the Patrick Youngs and the Joakim Noahs, just what sports does for people. and what it teaches you and what it gives you. And I think we all can, can relate to that, and what just being part of a team has given us. It's always frustrating because when you talk to people, you can tell those that played sports and were on good teams and were had people that made such an impression on them, like my high school football coach Pat Masters, who's a good friend of Ron Zook's. Just teaching you those lessons, the same thing that Zooker gave you, Ben. Just some things that goes beyond wins and losses and that kind of thing. And like Fran said, we need those kind of people back at Florida, and it's got to go from there. But just so many times I think we lose sight on the purity and the character that these sports can teach us, and just being involved with people. And I will say this, friends, you talked about people knowing where Florida was. In Taiwan, they know where Ohio Northern University is too. So that but just
President of my
being,
university in Korea was an Ohio
yeah,
Northern guy.
being part of a group of people that you're always going to have these relationships with, is what it's still about. And I think these sometimes fans lose sight of, what the impression is, what impression is being made on these young men by these coaches and the people they come in contact with. So just continuing that, and like you said, Patrick, just Donovan taking care of Patrick, taking care of Joe Kim Noah. And I'll give kudos to Billy Napier, because I'm tougher on him than anybody. But that's huge that guys feel like they can walk in that office and talk to him and feel like he listens. So,
Ben, close it up.
Yeah, it's what they say about you. It really, really comes down to what they say about you. When I get into the media and, I'm going to my first Florida Georgia game in the media, it's a friend of mine, Christian Gokel, who he went in under Southern Pigskin, and they didn't respond to him. He said, hey, Ben, could you call down to Florida? Man, they didn't respond to my credentials. So I called down there. Lady was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, Ben." I said, "How you doing, Miss Green, or whatever?" And mind you, Christian don't know this don't happen now. Like, this don't. But I had a relationship with Miss Green and her husband, Doc Lucky. Jamie upstairs. My fondest memories of Florida is Coach Spurrier. As great as he is as a coach, he's a hell of a human being, because he knows how to talk to you aside from football, right? Listen, the world knows me as Ben. My name is Benjamin. My family calls me Benny, right? Coach Spurrier called me Benny. And he made a little stuff like that, right? But the dude that had the biggest impression on me in Florida was Chris Patrick, CP, in the training room. Let me tell you something. CP is legendary, right?
Yeah.
CP, because when CP pulled you to the side, CP told Alex Brown, "Hey man, listen, as great as you are on the football field, I'm gonna need you to act like you got some sense when you're not on the football field." As much as Alex wanted to say something, he respects CP and Rob Glass. Like, these dudes are legendary, right? So for me, what y'all saying make all the sense in the world, because the only way I'm gonna learn how to not see myself as just a football player is by the people who are in charge of me talking to me as a person. They let me know, hey man, you can just be you, right? Like, for real? Like, yeah, because they gave me permission to just be me. Yeah, everybody want to be a good football player. Ron Zook is the greatest tough love I needed, because he ain't gonna sugarcoat it, right? I watched Mrs. Zook run 100 yards on Florida field in the heat, and he told her, "Your makeup better not run." That makeup didn't move. I ain't never seen that, but at the same time, when Ron Zook, listen, let me tell you something. When Ron Zook tells me, "I love you like a son," right? But I got to show you. But he also said, if all they remember you for is what you did on the field, you don't wasted your time, bro. Like, you don't wasted your time down here. So that real conversations, because most players only think coaches only want to deal with them because you can play, and then they show. Listen, the best coach I've ever had at Florida is Charlie Strong, and he was a D coordinator. Coach Strong invites you to his crib. They don't got to do that stuff, man. All defensive players in there, true, jump in the car with Gus Scott. But I don't play defense. You better. All defensive guys in there are me. So y'all right, man. When you start talking about when I write my first book, man, and I'm trying to figure out what the hell I'm doing. I see sales coming through, and I can see where it's coming. It's all people upstairs in Florida. And, there go Mike Speak, there go Ashton, there go Jamie, there go Kim Green. So for me, y'all right. As much as we think it's, listen, as a coach say, as much as we think it's the X's and the O's, it's the yeses and the no's. What will you say yes to? What will you say no to? And some of them coaches, when Lawson Highland died, Coach Lawson Highland, that's who recruited me out of Florida. He came to Augusta, Georgia, with his feet up on my coach's desk, with a SEC starter, with a Florida Gator starter jacket on, the big old SEC and national championship rings, and he'll say, "Listen." And the first time I got to Florida, I'm not around my parents, so I'm cussing a little bit. You know what he said? I'm gonna call your parents. What? I'm gonna tell on you because I know the family you come from. Listen, it scared me to death. I said, Coach, my mama called me. I go, hello. I said, Mama, did you talk to Coach today? What coach? Never mind. If he ain't said that, but that stuff, listen, that stuff matters because when I go to UNC and Coach Larry Fedora is the head coach, and he tells me, I only cared about what the type of man you was becoming, right? I knew the type of player you was. That stuff means, because as much as players say we don't care about what them coaches think, we are liars. Yeah. We care more about what our head coach think than our parents. When Ron Zook, my senior year, after our spring game, we go back down to Springs, 95, and who was at the cookout? Ron Zook, licking his fingers, eating the barbecue. I ain't never seen no coach do that. Not no head coach. He trying to show us, he said, Mr. True, you got to know what I'm into, so I got to know what you into. If I want to really know you, which I do, I mean, did the shorts ever come down? Nope. Did he ever was the booty real small? Yep. Ron Zook still had the smallest butt in the world. I said, dude, you need to go get you something like a BBL or something. But at the same time, when Ron Zook said I could play, I could play. When he said, now you can play. Because at the end of the day, ain't nobody gonna remember every single thing you did in Florida. But I appreciate, listen, Miss Ann Hughes. When Miss Ann Hughes told me I get to go off camp when my junior year, she said, "Oh Ben, I'm sitting there with Gus Scott, Carlos Perez, Daryl Lee, and Ronald Dowdy, Kenny Parker. We sitting there saying, hey, we about to be juniors." She said, "I don't know about the rest of y'all, but Mr. Troop, you good to go off campus." I said, "Y'all need to get y'all grades up." You remember that? So I'm trying to tell y'all listen, when I'm doing 84 Reasons and I'm talking to Ernest Graham, right? Ernest Graham was a man of few words. But the two things he had a stiff arm and he did not wear gloves. That boy used to put the tape on his fingers. I'm sitting there talking to him and I'm telling him how much I appreciate him as a teammate. He started talking to me about, depression and anxiety and all these different things, right? Players don't do that. I told EG, I said, man, I appreciate you, man. Because when he told me, he said, Troop, I be going to therapy and stuff. I said, I go to therapy too. I said, I ain't, I'm telling you, People know when I went to Florida, God was shining on me because I'm telling you, from upstairs, I didn't play till I was a senior. So when you talking about sleeping on the couch, I wasn't on Ron Zook couch because he would have told me to get the hell out, which is fine, right? But when you talk about Jamie and them up there in compliance, when I got drafted, the same couch. Listen, when I get drafted, the same couch I used to sit on and just talk to them jokers. Do you know Jamie looked for me? He said, "Hey," because he moved to another position. He said, "This is what he said." He said, "I'm looking for Ben Trooper, and if I could find him, I am willing to pay my own money to ship this couch to wherever he lives." And I'm telling you, and as much as when I'm too young, as my daddy say, boy, sometimes you just too young to understand it all. I was too young to understand it all. Now, man, I wouldn't trade that stuff, man, because that's what made me a football player. That's genetics. And I went to Florida. People say you was a good football player. Well, hell, I had the best of everything. I didn't lack anything. I got Max Starks on this side. It's Alex Brown at defensive end. They go Rex Grossman throwing me the ball. Yeah. I went from Rex Grossman to Chris Lee. My life was awful.
Hey, well, I want to tell you, we've gone way over tonight. The results of the draft, they're number 20. Troy Fontana from Washington going to the Steelers. This just in, there were 4 number 1 picks, actually 3 number 1 picks off the Buddy Martin show. There was Ben Troop, Lauren Meadows, and Franz Beard. Guys, you're all my number 1s. Love you all. Good show tonight. Thank you. Good stuff.
Yes,
Late
sir.
night is always fun. Take care.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, folks. Thank you very much. We're going to wrap it up here and tell you about our friends over at Rentstar, who are so special to us. Been sponsoring this show a long time. We apologize earlier for the problems we had with the electricity. Our power went out. We lost you, but picked you back up, and always glad to do that. It's been a long show. Good night. I want to tell you about Rentstar and how it's important that you know what they're about. They're about you, and they're about you knowing they need you to be a part of what they do. They're very big on clinical trials. Clinical trials are what they do when they have a group of people together and they try out new things and new drugs and see how people respond to them. They use that information to then give it to the biomedical companies so they can better serve us, giving us what we need for our health here in the Ocala, Gainesville, Orlando area. So these clinical trials are important. They help bring new therapies to the public safely, and they wouldn't exist without the commitment of you volunteers. If you should decide to participate in what they do, you want to go to rentstar.net, find out the information, how you do it. You could receive compensation for time and travel. You also you'll get study-related medications and procedures at no extra cost to you or your insurance company, and you might gain access to new investigational medications as well, or devices not otherwise available, and you can receive your compensation. So check them out, rentstar.net and Rentstar Medical Research, seeking tomorrow's answers to the health questions of today. Thanks for hanging there with us tonight, folks. We enjoyed it. Now we can go back and catch the rest of the NFL draft. Not my thing. Maybe it's yours. I'm off for that weekend. We'll talk to you on Monday night, the Buddy Martin Show. Good night. Have a great weekend, folks, and we'll catch you on the flip-flop, as they say.